listening to the podcast To Be Single or Not to Be by Shanna Montana, a podcast where we talk about the single life, dating, and relationships so you can make a decision at the end of each episode and decide to be single or not to be. That is the final question.
Today's topic is just say no to the pandemic boo. And, well, hang on. Before I dive into today's topic, it is absolutely necessary that we give ourselves a round of applause for making it this far into 2021. 2020, look, I'm trying to fast forward.
It's okay, go ahead and get it.
We're going to claim 2021.
Yeah, I know.
We already there.
2021,
We are already there because I can say, honestly, I think to some extent, 2020 has kicked our ass, completely. But we are glad to be here back in the building with two of my favorite co-hosts. And, 2020 started out one way. I don't think 2020. I'm trying to make sure I stay in the right year. I don't think any of us saw 2020 going the way that it did. I think, honestly, a lot of us, well, myself, I thought that, in the beginning of the year, we saw some, things about a pandemic, didn't take it very seriously. And then we realized that we should take it seriously. And then the world told us you're going to take it seriously. Mm-hmm. And so when that happened and we went on complete lockdown, we were in quarantine, we were in a situation that for me, I know I had never been in something like this. I never experienced anything like this. It was completely new, completely different. And it not only shook up our lives in a lot of areas, but it shook up the dating and the love life, honestly. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why it was imperative that I wanted to kick off season 3 talking about this because it was what's so crazy. We've been off for, and sorry for the wait, been gone for about 2 months, but left and came back and the pandemic is still here. Mm-hmm. And this ain't going nowhere. So
I'm just saying, and prominent, like...
booming. Yeah. Business is booming with the pandemic, unfortunately. So it's like, y'all keep staying safe. Y'all keep wearing y'all's mask and we will keep bringing the heat to talk about it. And we're going to get to it right now. So my thing is right now, ladies and gentlemen, just say no to the pandemic boo. Now, some of y'all may think that having a boo or just some companionship in the midst of a pandemic is a good thing because it can stop you from being lonely. It possibly stops you from calling an ex or getting involved in an old situationship. Hate those. Or it may just be a good resolve for your mental health because mental health is real, especially in 2020. However, I beg to differ on all this shit. And I'm going to tell y'all why later, And as I said before, I may say a little bit more curse words on this episode for various reasons. Not going to call out any names, but we're going to get to it in a minute. But I want to start by introducing 2 of today's guests that you all have had. I like to call them co-hosts. They aren't even guests anymore because they are at home when they are here on this podcast. And I had to start out this season with these 2 individuals. So up first, we have our in-house wife who is back, Tori, a.k.a. T-Baby. How does it feel to be back for season 3, girl?
It feels great. I'm excited.
Yes, we are so glad to have you back. So excited for all that we're going to have going on this season. Know that you can always add value and we look forward to it. And up next, we have our favorite therapist, Positively Meek or Miss Chemyeeka. Say hello to the people.
What's up, everybody?
How do you feel being back for another season?
Man, I am truly just grateful to be here. 2020 tried to take me out, y'all,
Ooh,
but I'm here.
But you're here. That's what matters. You still here. It tried to take a lot of us out. No, you are not alone. You are not alone. Okay. Okay, look here.
I'm going to see the beat on there.
Look. Right. So y'all know how it goes. We're about to get into it. So I want you all's honest opinion. And I know, Tori, you coming from a perspective of being in a marriage. And ask this question. Chemyeeka, are you still single?
Yes.
Okay, look, you have to ask questions.
You have to ask.
You gotta be sure.
I don't even mind. This is supposed to be my year to, break out of my shell.
Yeah.
But 2020 brought in some things. So yeah, if potential babe listening, I guess she just opened the door for me to take my shot. It's shot to go, so shoot in.
Shoot your shot. So I put that out there because I want to ask, because you all may have differing perspectives. Do you all think that dating a new boo, and when I say new boo, I don't mean somebody you like situationship in the past, somebody you kind of dabble with, but a new person, do you all think that's a good or a bad idea during a lockdown, quarantine, pandemic like we're going through? And I know the pandemic is still active, but I'm referring to like when it was in its heaviest, like March through the early summer. Do you all think that was a good idea for somebody to get involved with somebody new?
No, I personally, I do not. And I'm just going off her. I can't speak for everybody or every woman, every relationship. I'm just saying, me myself personally, I know for a fact if I were single and just dating during this pandemic, no, that wouldn't have worked. No, especially with my attitude.
Why not?
It's just, when things are fresh, I'm a lover. I'm a relationship girl. So I just know I probably would have ended up in a relationship with a man I had no business being in a relationship with. Just off the strength that he woke up and made me breakfast one morning. Or he brought me a basket full of hand sanitizer. It's
not the bare minimum. It's the bare minimum for me.
It's the bare minimum, and I would have just fell deeply in love, and I'd have been calling my mama. Like, it just would have been too much, and it just probably wouldn't have been healthy for me.
At all. You know yourself. It's like it would have been like he's doing the bare minimum. He's doing these little things that seem so sweet because we're in this like tight environment.
Yeah.
And in reality, if outside was open and you brought me a basket of hand sanitizer, that would be like unacceptable. That would be like grounds for dismissal. But because we're in this setting, it's like, it's okay. I love you. And it's like, oh, sis, this is not it. So I agree. It'll make you do some crazy things when you are in a situation like that. And you will tend to think that this is love when it's really not, because you're infatuated, you're bored. And, some days
vulnerable.
Yes. And some days he looking kind of cute. So, I'm with you when you're right. So, so Mika, what would you say?
All right, so y'all know me. I'm not even gonna play devil's advocate. I'm gonna say from the perspective of, we talk a lot about, loving yourself, getting to know yourself. The pandemic brought in a case where we all had to reevaluate and get to know ourselves again. Mm-hmm. So trying to get to know a new boo, it's kind of like what T-Baby was saying. For a lot of people in relationships, intimacy includes the physical. They didn't know how to be intimate without it. So that wasn't the period to be trying to get a new boo, keep yourself healthy and try to be all lovey-dovey in a relationship. Not to mention figure out how to save your mental health because you're going into a situation where you got to be alone. Especially as an introvert. We were somewhat thriving out here in these streets. People think I'm an extrovert, but I am an introverted extrovert.
That makes sense about the introvert, but keep going because I'm going to touch on that in a second.
But yeah, so for me, I think for reasons that may be similar, not similar to you all, it wasn't the time to try to, hop into a relationship with a new boo in terms of like, oh, we're going to be dating, we going out on dates, etc. Maybe get a new friend. Like, it's always time to get to know somebody. And for me, we start out as friends. Friendships can grow. They can. I'm not all about jumping out the deep end. Like, you going to have to, Jesus going to be tapping me on my shoulder saying that's definitely the one when I do that move. But yeah, it was a great time to maybe have some friends so you weren't alone, do FaceTimes and other things. But talking about, we dating, we moving to the next level, like, I don't know how you was going to be able to do it in that manner in terms of the pandemic and not knowing what your life was going to look like.
Where were y'all when I needed y'all? But, I digress. So look, do you all think that dealing with somebody in a pandemic doesn't really allow you to get to even know the person with no external factors being involved? It's just like you and this person looking dumb. That's it. So it's like, how do you avoid being bamboozled if a person is not, they're just now hearing this. So hopefully people will hear this and take this advice in the future because we keep hearing word that we may go back on lockdown. But if a person is, it's just you and that partner, how do you really avoid being bamboozled when it's just y'all two? Or can you not avoid it?
I was about to say, it'd probably be hard to avoid it. But I think it just comes like Chemyeeka was saying, you're supposed to get to know yourself. So just like being grounded, like, let's not act crazy. Like, everybody at this point, I hate the word lonely, but you may be experiencing.
I am so lonely.
What do the lonely do?
You're experiencing some things. Like, I was talking to a friend, and she's in a season of singleness, but she's ready for a serious relationship. So she was just
fellow sister,
Sorry, y'all. She was just like, what? Like, how do I kind of in the same situation? Like, how do I get to know a guy if I'm feeling him? And she was like, I'm in an apartment by myself. I don't really see my family because I'm long distance, and I'm starting to feel a little lonely. And I'm just like, girl, the loneliness is what makes him cute. Like,
ooh, okay.
You can't be.
Say more.
I think you can't really avoid it, but then at the same time, like, if you continue to tell yourself, like, okay, this is a pandemic. Let's be realistic. Like, both of us are single. His expectations may be different from mine.
Right.
And then you have to communicate different things. It's just best to just be friends. Now, I know, like, it's been trendy, too, to have, like, the little cuddle buddy. Or, like, the F partner during, I don't know, cuss, but yeah.
You gonna come out
Some cut just started playing in my head.
Baby,
sorry,
you gonna come out of the, look, you gonna come out of the pandemic with more than just COVID. Keep playing talking about a cuddy buddy. I think what you're saying, though, because that's the most difficult piece, I think, for women that are in the season of singleness. Those are the women that are most susceptible to jumping into something with somebody, because we do happen to get bored the easiest. Probably we can get the most distracted, but I think ultimately one area that I really found solace in was, you know, like we talked about before, you kind of get zoomed out, you know, you do so many Zoom calls, you do so many FaceTimes, but I really relied on my friends, you know, and I think in some elements, I'll admit it might not have been safe to go and see people, but if I had a moment where I feel like I might want to tap into somebody that I shouldn't have tapped into or spend time in an area I shouldn't have been spending time, let me call a girlfriend, let me go up to her house, let me spend time with her. You know, let me go do something else. Let me go to the grocery store. I don't know what I got to do. Let me take a walk outside. You know, figure something else out, because you're absolutely right. It's almost like the people, they say the elderly are very susceptible to COVID. We are, the single women are the most susceptible to a goddamn pandemic boot that we don't need. So single sisters, if you're listening, if we go on lockdown again, don't let the singleness get you caught up. Let's be clear.
Let's keep it real cute. I think it's a lot of women love to say too that, oh, they don't fall that fast. And it's like, okay, you might not fall fast, but we are emotional creatures by nature. We're emotionally attached by nature. It could be a bird can come to our window every day for 3 weeks.
She said a bird.
We probably love the bird.
We worry about the bird.
I immediately saw Snow White.
It's like if the bird skips one day, we like, okay, is everything okay? Right. Did he get eaten? Like
that is so true. That is so. We be looking for a bird. Like, what happened to the bird? I thought we were friends.
Like, the bird that comes to my window every day at 10:00. Yeah.
So, what do you think, Mika? Do you think it's possible to not get bamboozled in those situations?
I think it requires a lot of self-awareness.
Okay.
And self-awareness in terms of going back, all the way to season 1. If y'all been following, you know, the podcast of my girl Shayna, you know, since day one, you know, season 1 was all about those timelines. Yeah. And pandemic, they can't go with the timeline. And I mean, sometimes you got to throw the timeline out the window, and we understand that. They say
we talking about that like next week, throwing the timeline out the window. A lot's changed from season 1 to season 3, but I digress. Carry on.
But yeah, you know, they say when a man knows, he knows. But my thing is, when you with pandemic bae, and you know, the outside world has been shut off, are you still in the same space to remember what it was that you were seeking out of bae? To remember what those questions was, or what your needs versus your wants were? Or are you in full-on want mode and survival mode? Like, I need this attention. I'm craving it. I need this to know I'm not going crazy. Because when you're in that space, it's like going to the grocery store hungry. You gonna pick up stuff you don't need.
Girl, love.
So listen.
Oh, that was the best metaphor.
Yes, you gonna pick up stuff you do not need that is not a part of that keto diet. And that brings me to this. I think, and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong, I think that almost like dating during the pandemic may be a sham, because Mika, what you just said, and what I mean by this is dating during the pandemic, you either have a lot of time at home, or you have a lot of FaceTimes or Zooms. So I say at home, I mean at home, like with the other person. So do you really get to know if that person's money is right? You know, they not taking you on dates. They not showing you nothing. Do you know if they really have a job? You on FaceTime or Zoom. Every time you call them, they laying on the couch. They sitting at what looks like a desk, but you can't confirm it. You know, do they really own their own? Right. Got the same dirty white t-shirt on. Do they really own their own spot? They live with their mama. You know, can you confirm this? It's pretty much, are they really who they say they are? Because you are only seeing one facet of this person. So how can you really judge them? Go ahead.
I think to add to what you're saying, Shayna, the pandemic, if you're talking about dating in the pandemic, if you're talking about building friendships in the pandemic, if you're talking about doing anything in the pandemic has showed us, like, how much grace do you have for others as well as yourself?
How much grace do you have for others? But I'm all about extending grace and giving people the benefit of my doubt. However, in these situations, I think that it's really hard to extend it. Well, no, the thing is this. I think in these situations, say the month, say from March, April, May, June. So say for 4 to 5 months, you'll extend grace because especially if you're lonely, you are in a space that's unusual. You want companionship. I think you tend to extend grace and you tend to excuse a lot of things because
that's what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and because before, like, a person doesn't have to take you out on a date, so you're not really judging like, do they have the money to take care of me? A person doesn't really have to they don't have to come pick you up in their car. You don't even know if they really got a car, so you giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
This person, you only seen one room in their house, so you trusting that it's theirs. So you are extending, I think, more grace than you would in a normal situation. And then when quote unquote outside opens back up, and and all the chips that come tumbling down, you're like, how like Deborah Cox, how did I give you a challenge or whatever it was? Nobody's supposed to be here challenge.
So Shayna, what I want to add to that when I said grace, and you summed it up gracefully, the way you just walked through, like, I'm going to let you do this, I'm not going to ask questions about this. If we think about knowing that is what we do in a normal relationship, not even when we have the same terms or bounds as we do in the pandemic, when you think about it like that, there's something like happening that we've talked about before in past episodes. What could be red flags you're ignoring because you don't know if it's a red flag or not because of the situation.
Yeah. And I think that also, to add to that, you don't know if it's a red flag, so you may be ignoring it to some extent. But this also brings me to think about how we need to, when it's not a pandemic, we need to look at things a little bit harder. And we need to be aware of how much grace we extend or what it really has me thinking is, are we just this society that maybe on the other side that we don't extend grace? Because I'm sitting here thinking, like, if it wasn't a pandemic and I said that I wanted to go on a date and a guy said he didn't have money for it, am I really going to keep talking to him? If I talk to a guy and he tell me, well, I don't live with my mama, my mama don't live with me, I live with her. Am I gonna believe that and keep talking to him?
Absolutely not. Are you little about
yes,
They are doing that. Tell you Michael B. Jordan.
You know what? So my thing is, this also, I mean, I'm thinking this may be just another episode to dive into at another time. I'm sitting here thinking like we are extending all of this grace during the pandemic, but we don't extend this kind of grace outside of the pandemic. And that is all the more reason why I think when we double back, dating during the pandemic is a sham. Because we are moving in ways that we would not move if if the world had not stopped, we would not be moving in this manner. So why are you moving in this manner in this situation?
Well, Shayna, I think too, when we think about that, when we think about the pandemic, people are losing their jobs.
Yes.
Who had very nice jobs to begin with, but companies like, we can't afford you no more.
Right.
We were understanding what was happening within the Black and brown communities. We actually got to do a podcast episode, talking about protecting the Black woman, but we were looking at what was happening to our, our African-American men, our African-American women, our trans brothers and sisters. Like, we were seeing how we were coming under fire.
Yeah.
Our mindset was on, how do I bring you in and show you that I love you? Not on how do I differentiate you and isolate you.
Right.
Or how am I going to like break it to you like, hey, this was cool. I know you're going through a lot, but I can't be here no more. So the conversations just weren't happening. It was all about, how do I love on you? How do I show you that you're wanted and you're needed? So we just not getting to the point where I think people are actually reflecting on that, which, like you said, it's like that trial and error. So how do we observe from the outside to hopefully walk around the fire next time, but not through it?
Yeah. That's some insight. And I think that takes a lot of thought. That takes a lot of wherewithal. That takes a lot of focus. And that takes a lot of intention to be able to do those things. You have to be able to combine all of those things in order to come out on the other side of it in the place you said, because that brings us to a really good point, because this was the first time I feel like probably in my adult life that we really were able to sit down and take a look at all the injustices and all the craziness that was going on in the world around us that was uninterrupted, because we didn't have our lives that we were placing over the priority of other people's lives, because people have been dying. But it was like, it took for the pandemic for us to sit still and really realize people are dying around us. How can we honestly get involved and do something about it, So,
and no offense, but imagine how many pandemic blues, which pandemic bays and blues right now kind of in my head are being equivalent to that friend that ain't no good. But think about how many of them got not only extended grace, but got that what's up text. Not because you wanted to send that what's up text. That, like, you know, but you sent it because it was like, dang, people out here dying. I don't know. Maybe they really do need somebody to check in on them. Maybe they act this way because they've been impacted by this their whole life. And now I'm seeing, you know, in a larger lens, like, dang, like that's a lot for somebody to go through and me expect them to actually act right.
That is. And it's crazy because I did honestly, like I heard from people in my past that I have no ill will towards because all the things that were going on in the world, literally like, I'm just checking on you. And fortunately for me, mine was like I'm just checking on you conversation over with, you know. Some people, it might have been like, I'm just checking on you. And after that was, hey, big head, what's up? You know, it goes from there. So you just have to be mindful.
I got none of those, nor did I send any.
I did not send any, but I did get some, but it worked out how it was supposed to. So I would say, I was going to ask the question because I think, you know, like what would be the biggest issue people would face if they chose to date someone during a pandemic? But Mika, I want to divert to you a little bit and ask this question and talk a little bit about mental health during the pandemic. You know, how do you feel people were affected in this area the most?
I think, so in terms of how they were affected, it started with people realizing and feeling isolated.
Okay.
They were having somewhat symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, which a lot of people get affected with now, like around winter time, early on, because they weren't leaving the house.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were finding that if they were isolated at home but not alone, they were still finding that the people that they were in the house with, they were having to learn how to communicate with because they had never communicated with them in that manner before.
Goodness.
And I'm talking about spouses, not
like that article you sent me, that article from Black Love. That was Mika sent me an article today about a couple that was on blacklove.com, and I love their whole Instagram, their movement. But basically, they had arranged. It was a younger couple, had been married like 4 years, and they had more so. She said in the article, it said they had been arguing about things in the 4th year of their marriage that they had been arguing about in the 1st year of their marriage, and they had conveniently basically like set up their lives where they didn't have to interact with each other. And they thought that the silent treatment was okay. So it was like all the things that you're saying, people were really going through this. And this was a couple that fortunately the pandemic worked in their favor because they were forced to be in their New York studio 700-foot apartment where when they got into an argument, I really can't go nowhere. Where I'm going to go? On the other side of the refrigerator, you know?
Yep.
So it forced them to have to communicate. And fortunately, you know, they were a couple that came out on the other side of it. But it's so true what you're saying. But carry on. I just wanted to say that.
It's okay. The other pieces to it outside of isolation and people feeling either, like you said, like they were getting too much attention or they weren't getting enough attention was we saw an increase in, you know, suicidal ideation. People who were literally the things that they would do to get out of their head, they no longer had it to do. And what happens when the environment that you're in is the reason why you are having such mental health problems. And now you're stuck in that environment. And we saw, you know, and I know we don't talk about children a lot on this podcast, but we even saw an increase in, you know, mental health needs from the younger population.
Because kids need routine and they need that together.
School online. And even food shortages, because that's a basic need if we're talking about, you know, like the hierarchy of needs. The bottom is, you know, shelter, safety, nourishment. If we're isolating, but we haven't secured and made sure people have that, the basic needs, we can't expect them to function on a higher level.
Absolutely.
So to keep this short, all of that was at play with mental health.
And I think that's something that's super important. I wanted to touch on that because I think it's something that people need to just recognize and be aware of. You know, we're talking a lot about and joking some about how dating in the pandemic, you know, whether we feel a way about it or not. But ultimately, mental health did affect a lot of decisions. And mental health, it could be affected by having that pandemic boo or not. So I feel like if you, for your mental sanity, feel like you needed to tap into somebody, you know, during this time, that's okay. But, you know, it just was not my ministry. So I just want to leave it at that. So I want to ask you, T-Baby, for somebody who was officially booed up, you know, what was life like in the, what is life like in the pandemic with having a permanent fixture, AKA your husband, as a constant presence? You know, how do y'all manage and navigate that?
It's a little different because our relationship, like my mom always say, "Oh, y'all do it the new school way," because we believe in free time. Like I believe in him having his boys' night out every now and again. He believes in me having girls, even if it's a trip, a weekend trip to Houston or wherever they want to go. Yes. Please go. I'm packing your bags for you. What you need to wear. Like we did our space, and now we both working from home. And of course, his job, he works like a corporate end, and what I do, we can't work in the same space because we're always in meetings, on the phone, doing something. So it's like it's really different. But now that we're relying on each other, like now he expects me to like cook lunch, and I was like, wait a minute,
wait, what?
No, this is not. No, how did you get lunch before? Like, how did you eat? How did you eat before? Like, so now it's like petty arguments, of course, when you look outside looking in. But like at the time, we're like, okay, we really have to figure out how to adjust because we're not used to being in each other's space. Number one, 24/7, because you can't really go anywhere without being worried about catching COVID. And then number two, you have to adjust to also you have different expectations now because we're all like I'm married to 5 people. We're both at home. We're both at home. So like, and we're both introverted extroverts. Okay. So although we thrive off alone time and our moments together, we also love being social with our own friends or in some type of social setting. So our attitudes are a little worse now because we don't have the social events like we used to, whether it's together or apart. So just adjusting to that is a little different. We've just had to make, especially date night too, that's had to change. We've just had to make adjustments. And it was a challenge at first because like for his birthday in April, that's when it was like, okay, no, you are not to go anywhere. I had to I looked up on YouTube beach background and we did like a picnic in the house because it was just that
crazy.
Like it was weird, but it was fun. It made it fun because it was different. It was like, oh, he just thought I was crazy because he was like, this girl really looked up a beach background. It's like, yes, because this is where I wanted to be at this time. And we sit over here in Clarksville, Tennessee, looking at each other, eating Logan steaks and potatoes. Like we're having to adjust to making things interesting and making things fun, even though it's different because really, at the end of the day, this is our first pandemic, widespread. Of course, it's way serious, but this isn't going to be the first time we're going to have to adjust as far as our relationship and our marriage to try to make things fun. Like now we're trying to figure out how to make the guest room a nursery. But when the baby get here,
that's going to be a lot. That's going to be all the fun y'all need right there.
Thank you. That's what I was about to say. It's going to be serious adjustment. I'm overwhelmed trying to figure it out now, and the baby's not even here yet. So. And then there may be another pandemic, unfortunately, or it just may be different things. So it just kind of taught us how to adjust, but not panic, and that we could definitely make it through. So we're just getting used to each other's personalities. It's good now, but in the beginning it was a
little shaky. Y'all had to work the kinks out. Now you brought up a really interesting point. When you and Chemyeeka touched on it earlier in regards to like introvert, extrovert. So I want to say, how do y'all think dating in a pandemic should be viewed as an introvert versus an extrovert? Because a quarantine situation, as Chemyeeka said, it's an introvert's dream, but not so much for an extrovert. Like that's why I was like Smokey in a chicken coop over here. Like I gotta get out. People literally were checking on me like, Shayna, I know you have not taken a trip in 2 months. Are you okay? Do you need me to come bring you some sand over there so you can pretend like you're on the beach? Because I know you doing bad right now.
2 beach background will satisfy you for everything.
Man, what? Dude, like come just rub some on my arm, So it was to the point. What was crazy for me, because y'all know I'm a super extrovert. I was for about the first 2.5 months, I was okay because it was like the first time probably in years that I had sat still. Like I didn't have a schedule. I didn't have a trip. I didn't have anywhere to go. It forced me to sit still. And I enjoyed having quote unquote nothing to do outside of work because I worked from home before the pandemic. So my life was pretty much the same in that area. But after about 2.5 months, I'm like, okay, Jesus, like I get it. We learned our lesson. I need for outside to open back up. So I started going a little bit crazy. And I think that's why, maybe certain things happen. So I want to say, being that, introvert's dream is a pandemic, but not so much for an extrovert. So how should this be navigated? Or should it not be like if those two people are together, or should that not be navigated at all?
I think it's balanced.
Okay.
So I'll use me as an example because like I said, I'm both.
Okay.
And I guess some people say they're ambivert, but I'm not an ambivert in the sense that I was born an introvert, and it was like senior year high school. I was trained to be an extrovert. So I honestly know that after a while, my whole body was shut down after too much human interaction. Like, no joke, y'all.
And my body shut down if I don't get enough. I'm like, what's going on? I don't have enough stimulation.
So for me, like, the balance would be, especially if you're a couple, if you know your partner's an extrovert and you're an introvert, like, just how do we meet each other's love language?
Yeah.
Can I provide you with some time in the morning if that's what happens when we wake up to have breakfast for you to talk to me and, you know, expend some of your energy? Yeah. And then I give you the cue like, all right, babe, that was enough. I'm going back to my corner. Yeah. Or is that the time where we have to come up, get creative with activities? Like, we in a quarantine. Hey, babe, how about we do a book club? Yeah. We read together. That means we read in silence. And then we'll do some discussions at some point. But, you know, like, you're getting that time. And then I feel like they're getting a lot of time. You got to be creative.
And you might even have them read out loud at least once to make sure this nigga can read, you know.
Absolutely. That's important.
Or even, like, T-babysitting, create those date nights, but maybe have it where y'all cooking together. Yeah. So y'all can talk while y'all cooking. Or if one of y'all touchy-feely and that means that they not running their mouth and you know what I'm saying? Hopefully you like PDA. I've learned that though, y'all. Like, for people who one of their love language is physical touch, that physical touch sometimes doesn't come with talking. Like, they just literally just need to rub, but
you
not
can get them to shut up.
Yeah. So, like, you know, just find the balance.
And I tell you from somebody who's married to somebody who the first one is physical touch. Holding hands sometimes on couches, we just holding hands quiet like
I could keep this brother quiet by holding his hand.
I love it. And I have clients that tell me that, like, even down to the point, and I mean, so this is love language, but it still has to do with the extrovert introvert, that they're like, I don't know what to do. Like, they're like, my spouse loves all the kissy, lovey-dovey stuff, and I'm like, bruh, how much more do you want? To the point one of them said literally their spouse will come in the house and hug them and kiss them and maybe go away and then come back and do it again and say, this is for me. Like, it's that knowing, like, I just need you to know, I know this is probably coming up in your space, but I needed this. I'm not going to ask you to hug me back. I need to hug you so you know that I just needed this moment for myself.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes as introverts, we have to do that too. Like, be unafraid to say, okay, I really do need to step away and I'll come back, but I really need some time to myself.
Yeah. And you have to, that's like a boundary you have to create in those situations, that I need this time. I need to decompress when I come in. I don't necessarily need to touch you, you know. I'm not that person, but I know people like that.
I love to listen to music when I'm recharging. I can listen to music or journal, and like literally I have an hour or two, or it's funny, even through the holidays, I fall asleep and I wake up though like I never went to sleep. I just needed that moment to recharge. Like, wake up on a, hey, what's up? Did you remember?
Baby, it's nothing like them. I take 25-minute power naps all the time. It'll change your life. I set a timer.
My sister was like, how you waking up like you never went to sleep? Like, that conversation over, but we happy to know you remember where it stopped.
Yep, I'm going to get back to it. That's why I'm right here, right now. So to play devil's advocate, I want to ask this question. You know, are there really any wins to dating in a pandemic? And I'm being for real when I ask this.
If you're somebody that likes to take it slow, I think so. I'm holding on to hope for myself, y'all, because this ain't ending no time soon, and I ain't getting no younger.
I think it can be some benefits to it. It's just a matter of like how you look at it. Like, what's your perspective going into it? What are your expectations? So are you looking to be married during the like you want to date, be engaged, and get married before the pandemic ends? I don't know.
It's like, what are your relationship goals within the pandemic? I think you have to be mindful of that. Be aware, like, what really are you trying to accomplish? Like, are you really just lonely? If you're lonely, there are a lot of ways to cure loneliness where a man or a woman is not involved. You can do other things. And it's a lot of other ways for me. Maybe that's the extrovert in me. I know a lot of ways to have fun that don't involve the opposite sex. So I think you have to look at what your goal is. I also think that you have to be mindful and be cautious of, you know, that the situation that you're going to be in, like, it's almost like a pressure cooker. I read that somewhere, that quarantine is like a pressure cooker. It speeds things up and cooks them faster than normal. And sometimes the results are what you desire, and sometimes not so much, because you may get burned. So I think you have to realize that you are in a simulated environment that is not going to be how things are going to be forever. So this is a person also you got to look at. Well, no, I was about to go to the negatives. Let me get back to it. Let me stay focused.
Don't nobody like burnt popcorn, but we can come back.
Not at all. But go ahead. So do y'all think so I think you do have to have a clear idea of what you're looking for in that situation in the pandemic. What else? How else do you all think people can win?
I think it's like what T-Baby was saying, knowing your expectations. Like I was saying, like, you know, being willing to take it slow. The pandemic in so many ways has also slowed things down and on purpose. Like, I think in a lot of ways, we were in such a society that was like everything had to happen instantaneously.
Oh, yeah, microwave.
We forgot what the steps were in between that. Yeah. Like, grandma and them went out here microwaving veggies and stuff out the freezer. They was actually going out, you know what I'm saying? They was bringing it on on the porch. You was shelling peas, you was shucking corn, and then you know what I'm saying? Like, not saying we got to go back to being that slow, because some people are listening to me like, what is she talking about? I grew up in the country. Like, sometimes you got to go back to that. Because during that time frame, if I'm going to use that analogy for me and like what works for me, during that time, I got a lot of history and a lot of love from my grandparents. I learned a lot about my family. I learned a lot about how we think, why we do what we do. But I also learned a lot about how my grandparents, how my grandmother walked and what she did. And also a lot about how what she determined my grandpa needed, and also what he desired or what made him happy. And it wasn't being forced. It was simply she was in her element. And sometimes I think this pandemic is giving us a chance to understand what is our element. Because some people really in this habit of believing their element is work, because that's all they do is business. I was gonna say too, but it ain't.
To me, a benefit of like dating, because I think people eliminate the whole getting to know yourself part of dating, because that needs to be done before you get with anybody, or you can have your little friend, so whatever. But before you seriously get in a relationship, you should get to know yourself. And getting to know yourself, to me, I know we kind of beat that
can't beat it enough.
Ground, especially like on the mental health side. But it's like it's a journey, because you're not the same person. I know today. I mean, generally, like personality wise, sure, I'm the same person I was last year. But there are a lot of things different today than it was for me last year. So I know the pandemic for me, and as a married woman, it took me a minute to sit back and be like, okay, so what things changed about you, even when it came to us expressing like expectations or trying to figure out like how we're gonna be in the house together 24/7 all the time. I had to kind of get to know myself, get with my spiritual self again, and just be like, okay, so sis, is this your love language anymore? Like, do you enjoy this? What do you like? Just so I can communicate that to him, so we can have a healthy marriage, and vice versa. So I think taking it slow is a part of taking it slow as well, especially when you're going into dating. It's kind of getting to know yourself to make sure you're pursuing what you actually want.
Agree with that. And I think it's the perspective. You have to know, it's like anything that we do in life. You have to have the positive perspective. You have to have certain intentions, and you have to be just very self-aware of what it is that you're doing and what you're looking for in order to have success in this area. Because even though I don't feel like people should have a pandemic boo, there are some that still believe in it, and that is okay. I just think that you have to be fully aware of what is going on and how you want to move and what you want the outcome to look like. So on that note, I'll go ahead.
I was just going to say, I want to add to that. It's kind of like the whole cuffing season. If you coming to me telling me you got a pandemic boo, I'm sorry. Like, it's kind of like you put a season on that. So when this pandemic over, is that no longer
right? And that's what happens, baby. You go through the pandemic.
Yeah, it reminds me of the high school sweetheart syndrome, or the middle school boyfriend that you like. Everything's good at school.
Baby, they say it was good till it wasn't. Okay, like Kehlani, it was good till it wasn't. So you have to know. So that's the thing. You have to look at it that way too. If you're saying this is you're not really gonna go into it and say this is my pandemic boo, but you have to look at the context around it. That you started dealing with somebody in the midst of a pandemic when the world is looking real crazy, and when this pandemic is over, it's a chance that the pandemic is gonna drop off of that term, and so is the boo. And again, here you are left all alone, looking stupid, like I said before. So on that note, we'll be right back for the Living Single segment.
This now brings us to the Living Single segment of the podcast. It's simply a segment where we want to send you good vibes, good energy, and give good advice on any questions that you may have about being single, dating, or relationships. Remember, nothing is off limits. So, welcome to the Living Single segment of the show, and let's get into it.
So now we're here to the living single segment. And today's question is, I am in a relationship with, hang on, I think she wrote that wrong. I'm a 32, or maybe I read it wrong. I'm not dyslexic.
It's all right.
I am a 32-year-old woman in a relationship with a 39-year-old man. We have been together for 2 years, and most parts of it are good, except the sex. I want sex a few times a week, and he wants it maybe twice a month. Sex is important to me, and when I try to discuss this with him, he is very dismissive and tells me that it's not as important to him in so many words. I am contemplating leaving. Should I stay or should I go? I need you all to let me know. So the floor is you all's. What do y'all think?
I want to say I'm not laughing at whoever wrote this. I had to gas. I ain't even gonna put my personal business out there like that. I'm just gonna say that as somebody that ain't been in a relationship in a while, when I get in one, I need us to, like, hopefully we've communicated what our expectations are on some things.
Baby.
And I say that even knowing my religious background, just like when you expect something from a relationship, and for me to fast forward, like when I get married, like we need to have some stuff on the table. Like, so I've waited on you, and I need you to know that now that you are here, can you just let me know what you thinking, so I can let you know what we need to adjust the needle? Because they say, women as we age, our libido gets strong. So,
it does. Trust you, me. I'm closer to 40 than I like to admit.
So I'm just saying, like, if you at that point where you like, look, I done done it all, and sex don't mean that much to me. Maybe we need to go ahead and do sex therapy, because if you my husband, I
don't need to mean nothing to you.
So I guess what I'm saying is, for her, well, for them, they need to have that conversation. And if the conversation has already had, it needs to kind of dig deeper. Like, okay, asking him.
She said he's dismissive. So what does she do?
If y'all just dating, like, are you losing anything if you walk away? Because if he dismissive, that's dismissive of a need. Like, because you stated that's a need, which means a loving person. I'm going to meet your need, or we're going to figure out how to meet your need. If I'm not capable of doing it, like, there's an understanding that's going to come. If I'm dismissive, that means I'm not even trying to find a solution to the problem. And I'm going to stop, because I could preach. I'm going to quit.
I mean...
So does that mean, so in your opinion, does she stay or should she go? Because that's the question she's asking.
I don't know if it's that simple. Look, I don't want to ruin nobody's relationship, but if you're to the point where you feel like it's stay or leave, if he being dismissive, he done open the door for you to leave.
He probably wants you to leave, sis. He probably gay. But
Shayna!
What? I mean, you don't want to have sex with me?
Even at, like, and to me, and I know, like, people like, oh, the honeymoon stage. To me, the honeymoon stage lasts as long as you want it to. And at 2 years,
make it last forever.
There's no way. And I'm trying to consider his age as well, but I just ain't never. I don't know, and that man said, "Don't put his business out there." I'm trying to get my words together. 2 days, I'm trying to figure. Like, honestly, I would be concerned. Like, are you attracted to me? Like, is it something?
Oh, most definitely.
And that's
right.
And that's not to be like internalized. That's real. Like, if you're not,
that's real. She ain't Jack in the Box that thing.
Right. Like, if you're no longer attracted to me, let's talk about like what's going on.
And don't have me second guessing if you get it from another woman, and that's why you don't want it from me, bro.
Right. So let's get down.
My head, I have so many ideas. I'm like, is it another woman? Is he gay? Does my pom pom stink? Is my pH off?
Is it
I got bad breath?
Like, what is it? I don't know, but I just feel like at 2 years, it's no way he should be already like. Because I'm thinking y'all are just dating. Y'all aren't even married.
But you know what? Our grandparents used to tell us. If you out here giving, giving the milk, and you expect him to buy the cow.
Yeah. But in reality, this is like, I would say more times than not, when you're in a situation where a person is not married, but they are having sex. And so if we've started doing this tango, and I don't know, she didn't give a lot of details as to like if it's always been that way, but it's happened enough for her to write in. It's to the point where it's like, now I have to address it because it's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, I would say, let me not say what you should do. I would say what I would do I would have tried to like spice it up. So whether that includes dressing up or, I mean, if you're bringing in, I don't know, I don't want to tell you what to do, but I don't, I would probably consider leaving, heavily consider leaving. I would weigh my pros and cons and try to figure out like where we are in this relationship, especially if he's dismissive about it, because at that point, he doesn't even care that you care.
Yeah.
So even if he doesn't care, there should still be some compassion there that you're feeling some type of way about it. And the fact that he's being dismissive is kind of it's just a little
it's kind of narcissistic
alarming
behavior.
Yeah, it's alarming.
It's very alarming.
For y'all that just have been dating 2 years. I know people think 2 years is such a long time. It's really not if you trying to be with somebody
not
forever.
The way these years rolling by.
Yeah, if you're trying to be with somebody forever. So Tori, what would you do? Would you stay or would you go?
I would probably go. I would just communicate, this is things I needed and it's just not being met. So maybe this is not where we should be right now.
Donnell Jones,
I agree. I think that, I just would have to let him know, like, I think we're just not each other's people. I'm not your tribe.
Yeah,
like,
it was fun while it lasted,
I should go.
But
because if I am, when I think about when I was 32 years old, I mean, I don't want to share too much. I wasn't having that much sex. I don't remember. But I just could only imagine if I was, put it this way, I was not in a committed relationship at 32. I wasn't. So if I was in one at that time, I don't care how old you are. You could be 99. If you chose to be with me at 32, you have the expectation that if I'm not going to be, celibate until marriage and we start to have sex, that it's something that is a constant want and need. It's like the hierarchy of life. I need it along with other things. It's like food, water, shelter, sex is right there with it. So I think that in this case, if it was enough for her to write in and have a question about it, she's contemplating leaving. You probably, because women mentally leave before we physically leave, you probably are already mentally out of the door. One foot is out, one foot is in. Sis, go ahead and slide that other foot to the left and leave. You should go.
Can I add a piece to that, Shayna?
You sure can.
In all honesty, whoever you are, and for whoever else may be listening and find themselves in the same boat, do an evaluation. Like, how is this impacting you? Because at the end of the day, you're saying he's being dismissive of the want, but has it gotten to the point where when he's dismissive of the want, it feels dismissive of you? Because if that is the case, then that's an indicator something got to change.
Because she probably feels attached to the want. Like, I don't feel like me and the want are one and the same.
Because that also means if I'm trying to dress up and spice up the sex to get you to want it, and you the more you are dismissive of my approaches, the more it starts to feel personal.
Yeah.
And that's where, we don't want you to be in a situation where the resentment's so high, it could become violent. Or it literally turns you off from you. Like, because you got to love you, sis. It's like, literally, don't let that man tear you down, like, mentally and then emotionally it starts to put weight in and then physically is doing the same. Like, if you're questioning yourself, it's time to take an exit.
Yeah, that's what I said. I would be like, I think that's what I said, just go ahead and, cut your losses as is now, because it gets to a point where you do, like, just naturally after so long, you be like, wait, is it me? Because I'm expressing myself to him and like, he's not even bothered. So, and I'm bothered. So obviously it must be me. But yeah, in that situation, and it's surprising and I hate to put myself out here, but sex is important. I just don't understand,
honey, very. Let's be clear.
You have to get, at some point you got to be selfish. And right now is that moment.
Yeah. I'm with you when you're right. And you're right on that one. So,
I love what she said. I'm with you when you're right.
when you're right. So I'm just going to say, sis, I think the majority on this one, we have a 3-person panel. In this episode of American Idol, we are like Simon out here. You have to go. I know that Chemyeeka brought, the real on her side. But sis, leave. Let them go. Release them. Give them back to the streets. That's it. All right. So if you are interested in getting advice on the Living Single segment, feel free to DM us or message us on Facebook or Instagram at To Be Single or Not To Be, or you can email us at tobesingle-or-not-to-be@gmail.com. So that said, we'll be right back with the resolution. All right. So listeners, you guys know this is the finale of the episode. And this is the place where we really just talk about, what is the resolution to the subject at hand? So dating in a pandemic is what we've been talking about. So ladies, we're going to go. I'll start with Tori. I'll start with you first this time. Is it a good or bad idea? How should the people move going forward? Because we know that a lockdown could occur again any day now. So what final words do you have for the people?
Like I've said before, I'm a lover. I believe in love. I'm a fairy tale type of girl. So I'm not going to say it's absolutely a horrible idea. All I'm going to say is just be careful. Like Cardi B said, be careful with me. Be careful with yourself. And just don't be afraid to take things slow, because the pandemic can create a euphoric, protected environment that is
a utopia.
It's just not reality once the world really opens back up.
Yeah, I love it. And Mika, what would you say?
To take all that T Baby has said into account, and then add to that, make sure you walking into the situation being real with yourself, your expectations, and have already accounted for what level of hurt you're willing to accept. Because when things occur, make sure you are acknowledging those red flags and not giving too much grace that you like, oh, it's the pandemic. Because eventually the pandemic has to end, and if that's going to be your boo, then that's going to be your boo with all of that baggage and all.
Yeah. And it could work out. Ultimately, everything we're saying could be 100% wrong. But however, I don't think it is. So I just want to say, be mindful of that. Be careful, be cautious, be aware, be intentional, and know exactly what it involves. We know that relationships, period, it's a roll of the dice. Whether it's a pandemic or not, we understand that a relationship is a risk that you take. It's one of the biggest risks in your life that you will ever take. But trust and believe, if it's already so much risk involved without a pandemic, just think about if you want to add that element on top of it. So that said, this has been a great welcome back to season 3. Ladies, give yourself a round of applause. You all have done an awesome and amazing job. I'm so excited for all that we have in store. Listeners, please make sure you are tuning in every Monday. We are back on the scene. We have so many things that we're going to be talking about. And Tori and Mika, know that your opinions are always valued and appreciated. We definitely love to have you on the show. And on that note, we'll be right back with the Montana Minute.
Bye, y'all.
And now this brings us to the Montana Minute. The first thing, getting a pandemic boo may not be a bad thing, but it may not be the best thing. Just make sure you're intentional with how you navigate these pandemic waters. The next thing, if you decide to navigate this land, work with your person to be sure you both know what you're looking for while you're inside and once outside opens back up fully. And the last thing, be sure you are using this time in the pandemic wisely. I know this podcast is about relationships, but don't neglect the relationship you have with yourself just because we are living in unusual times right now. Always keep yourself a priority because self-preservation is the key. So, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave us a review and don't forget to visit our website, www.tobesingleornottobe.com, to join our email list so you can stay up to date with all of the podcast happenings. So now, I leave you to decide, to be single or not to be. That is the final question. Signing off, yours truly, Shanna Montana.